What I want to ask you, it's about your childhood. Tell us where you were born.
Yes,
How did you start your life?
Yes, I was born in Budapest. I spent some time abroad with my parents, some time in Canada and some time in London. My father works for a Hungarian software company which does software for architects and sells it in 86 countries around the world. And with his job, we traveled. And then and then we moved back to Hungary. I went to university in Hungary, and then I felt like I need to move outside of Hungary.
Did you have any role models, any entrepreneurs in your family, your father?
Yes, so my father started working for one of the first kind of post-transition real companies in Hungary. He was telling me the story of when they went to a trade show in Germany, and there was a Time magazine on the plane. They were actually like looking at the ads and kind of trying to discover how to do marketing, because before that wasn't a very known concept, obviously, I guess neither in Romania, so we share this past. So I grew up next to a father who was not an entrepreneur himself, but he took part in building a business from a very early stage. And also he took part in building an international business, which kind of gave me a little bit of like a wider scope. And then I had two very important role models. One of them were my uncles, my mother's brothers. And you'll see why this is important. So they are brothers, and they started an import business at the time. They were 20-something at the time of the transition, back in the 90s, and they started an import business which grew into a big franchise selling lifestyle sportswear clothes called Dockyard Islands, and I think they have some shops in the western part of Romania as well. So, and I really much like their lifestyle. And all I could see, obviously, is that you know, they were not really bound by working hours, and they were having nice holidays. I didn't see all the nights that they worked through. As a kid, I only got to realize later that it probably wasn't such an easy ride for them. So I had these role models, and I guess this was something that really influenced my life.
Okay. Any entrepreneurial experiences when you were a kid?
Yeah, I think at first when I was 10, we had to put together folders for my father, who was going to trade shows, and we were paid £10 an hour for it, which was huge money for a small kid. But I guess when I was 18, my mother told me that no more pocket money for fun, so to say, so that my education will be paid for, but other than that I have to make money. So I knew how to ski, so I became a skiing instructor, because that's nice, you get the sun and it's nice conditions. But then I realized that unfortunately there's only so many hours I can invest into being a skiing instructor, and they pay me an hourly fee, so it's okay for the winter, but I'm not going to have anything left for the summer. So we started organizing ski camps to France, and we organized university students, and then we took them for a 1-week vacation with parties and everything involved in a package. And in good years, we were taking 500 students a year, and this was a very entrepreneurial experience in the sense that we started doing business at our own risk, and at like an age of 18, 19, this is, you know, when you have to invest 5,000 euros and you don't know what's going to happen. It's
This was your first business?
Yes.
18 years old?
Well, when I started university, yes, I was 18.
Yeah, very nice. We will get back to your entrepreneurial experience. Tell me if you had any job. When was your first job?
Yeah, so I had one real job. I had an internship. I studied finance actually for some reason, and I went to do a master's in Madrid, and I had this dream of becoming an investment banker because when I was a kid, I also had another uncle who was an investment banker, a very successful person, and I don't know, for some reason I had this dream that those were top guys and I should join their ranks. Luckily, I was not accepted to any investment banks because in 2011, when I finished my master's, it was not the years when investment banks were accepting people, and I didn't have the right internships. So I was not the right profile either. So I decided that and also for personal reasons, to move back to Hungary. And then I thought, what are the investment banks in Hungary? And then basically the big four are doing financial advisory in Hungary, so I applied to them and I got accepted. And at the same time I called my other uncle, who used to be an investment banker and was running a small VC fund at the time, to get some advice, and he said, he gave me advice, and he also invited me for an interview. And then I decided to join his VC fund, and I worked with him for 2 years, which was a very, very important experience for me. I learned a lot about building businesses, about financing businesses. So I worked there 1 year full-time and 1 year part-time, and I learned a tremendous amount from. The good thing if you work for VC is that you work very closely with highly experienced people. So I learned a lot from him. They invested in the most successful Hungarian auction site, which is also a marketplace, very similar to what we started to work on. So having a job is not bad, especially if you collect valuable experiences. I very much valued that part of my life.
Okay. So your first business was 18 years, and after that, what pushed you to entrepreneurship? How did you decide to start your own business?
In Madrid, I was discussing with a Moroccan friend of mine, and he was telling me that we should do a business together where people can exchange expensive watches and expensive cars between each other, so they can go to the party the next day and show off. And I told him this is a very nice idea, but in Europe people buy expensive watches and expensive cars for a different kind of reason, so it probably won't work. Anyhow, I told this to my brother, and he was also at university at the time. He had a lot of time on his hands, and he did some Googling, and he came across Rachel Botsman's TED speech, TEDx Sydney, and this was, I think the speech was in either 2010 or 2011, and this was really the first time somebody coined or named what we now call collaborative consumption. I'm sure all of you are very familiar with it by now. And in 2011 it was a very new thing for us, and we were like, wow, this is the opportunity of our time. So as the importing stuff was the opportunity of our time for our uncles, like this is the opportunity of our time for us, because the internet has matured to a level where it becomes possible to create trust at scale, and we were really taken away by the idea, by the huge opportunities that this gives to people to use resources more efficiently. And I think when that discussion started, it was kind of inevitable that we're going to do something. So by the time I had my first day at my first job, we decided that we're going to do it. And after the second month, I presented the idea to my boss and told him that we're going to start working on it, and it's good if he knows.
Okay, what was the idea? How?
The idea was to start a ride-sharing platform. So we looked at all the options, or not all the options, I'm sure there are many options that we don't even know about at this time, but we looked at the most popular sharing platforms, and we realized that ride sharing is probably the most. So first of all, to do something in small countries, you need to have kind of a mainstream service, because niche services are not going to make it in small markets. So we were looking at mainstream services, and within the mainstream services we were looking at local services that we can do locally, and what is, you know, culturally close to us, because, you know, trusting a stranger is an interesting and new concept, but letting somebody in your car, hitchhiking was very popular in Hungary, just as it was in Romania. So we thought it's a natural and good fit for us. At the same time, we also saw that it's something that works in Europe very well. Germany and France by that time had very popular. Ride-sharing was very popular, although it wasn't the sexy business model it is today, I have to say, because it was not monetized at that time at all. So there was proof that people need this, and we thought, yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Let's stay a little bit on this. How did you get started? What was your first week, month, year? How was it?
So I decided to start it with my brother.
Yeah.
We both have, so to say, business backgrounds. So one of the first things we had to do is we looked for a technical co-founder who kind of shared this vision and was willing to invest his energy into this shared vision. And I guess this was probably the most successful momentum in our journey when we found our technical co-founder, who was a very experienced person who had who liked these geospatial technologies that are needed to match people on maps, and who wanted to do something like this before on his own, but he was alone, he didn't have the means to do it. So we teamed up with him, and my brother started Googling how to develop an internet application. He started drawing wireframes. I would go home and we would discuss the wireframes. And we started doing, so first of all, we kind of made this, we were kind of so sure about what we want to do. We didn't really do very thorough analysis. Looking back, it's kind of strange. We went straight into designing the product, and that's how it started.
Any ups and downs? How did you market first the product?
Yeah, many ups and downs and like crazy things. So we decided we were going to do it in September 2011, and we managed to launch in August 2012. Obviously, when you do something like this for the first time, it takes longer than you think. And we did probably all the mistakes that somebody can do. One of my favorite ones is that we decided that we have to do an explainer video, right? I mean, if you're going to do a product, you need an explainer video, especially back like a couple of years ago, explainer videos were. And we spent more money and energy producing the explainer video than we spent in the first 3 or 4 months on marketing. So
it's a good example.
It's a good example of a stupid mistake.
Okay. How or when did you decide to sell?
Yeah, we didn't decide to sell.
Okay.
So I'm here building ride sharing in Romania, right?
Okay.
After like kind of going through the initial learning phases, starting spending on marketing instead of explainer videos and getting some real user feedback, developing the product. I mean, initially we developed these really cool features that nobody used. And then like the first year, part of the first year was to kind of narrow the product back into like a usable something. So yeah, but slowly we started getting there. We started getting very good traction. But we also realized that the money we initially had to start this was running out. That was from the ski camps, by the way. And we realized if we want to do this, we need to get financing. If we want to do this, we might as well do it in several countries because it's not worth just to do it in one country. So we started fundraising at the end of 2013, and we managed to secure funding by April 2014, and then in April 2014 I got this email from my current boss that BlaBlaCar wants to expand to Central Eastern Europe, and they're looking for people to cooperate with. And then I asked what they meant by cooperation. And then I'm sitting here, and there's my BlaBlaCar bag, and we're part of the BlaBlaCar team, and expanding through teaming up with local teams is a very successful practice of BlaBlaCar to expand globally. We were the fourth team to join BlaBlaCar, and we are not the last. There's been two since. So we didn't sell, we just continued to build and finance what we originally started to build and finance in a different way.
It's an interesting model because I wonder, did you ever thought that you could be BlaBlaCar because you started raising funds?
Yeah, so when we started this whole thing, it wasn't clear at all that ride sharing is so big. It was clear that it's big because many people did it in Germany and France. It wasn't clear that it works in other countries. It wasn't clear that this is a good business. When we started raising funds, it became more and more clear that it's a good business. For example, BlaBlaCar, then called Covoiturage, started monetizing in France, so there was proof that this can be monetized. But BlaBlaCar didn't have the kind of backing that we would think that they would even want to grow so much. Meantime, while we were raising funds, BlaBlaCar was also raising funds. So they did get the backing to grow globally, and now we are growing globally. We are present in Mexico, India, Turkey. We're going to launch Brazil soon. We're thinking about Asia. So now, kind of BlaBlaCar did get. We did get the means to grow global and help unlock this power in sharing globally and help improve transportation globally, which is really cool, and I'm very happy to be part of this.
Okay, very nice. Let's talk a bit about BlaBlaCar in this area that you represent. How were the first 6 months in the Romanian market?
Okay, so just as a recap, BlaBlaCar is a platform which allows drivers to share their rides with passengers, typically between cities. So the average length of a shared ride is about 300 kilometers. Drivers benefit because they share the cost, and maintaining a car is very expensive. And at the same time, they meet new people, and the usual commute doesn't become so boring. So most of our drivers are regular commuters who have some kind of connection to two different cities, and they either travel weekly or monthly. And for the passengers, it's again cheaper than most other alternatives. It's faster in Romania. It's more convenient, especially if you have luggage or if you have many stopovers. And again, you get this nice experience. I'm very different. When I go with the bus, I'm like this, like nobody sit next to me. And when you share a ride, it's a lot different because you're in a much more, you're in the kind of personal space of somebody, and you really respect this, and you want to connect to this person. So this is what we do. And Romania is picking up very nicely, especially through the summer. The average length of a ride in Romania is 380 kilometers, which is actually slightly above our usual average. This is, for obvious reasons, Romania is a big country and cities are well spread out. Unfortunately, I can't share many local numbers right now. We will have a local launch, press launch soon, and then I will be able to share more numbers. But what I can say is that you should all go on the platform next time you travel by car or otherwise, and check it out for yourselves. And there are many people already using it, and we're getting some very good feedback. And we believe that Romania is a market where we're going to reach anywhere between 3 to 5 million people who will use our service, and it's a very long way to go until there. But the initial feedback and the initial feedback shows that the need is there. And
okay, I had 5 or 6 more questions about the numbers, about the number of users, passenger, and the total value of the transaction from BlaBlaCar.
Yeah, just to give you some numbers. So we have 20 million members globally, and these 20 million members, 10 million people share rides every 3 months. So it's a very active community, and part of them are from Romania.
Yeah. Please tell me more about the business model of BlaBlaCar. How do you monetize if you don't take money from the passenger?
Yes.
Or do you take money from the passenger?
Yes. So, I mean, I think what's very clear for everybody is that we unlock this huge economic potential, right? So all the money that both the driver and the passenger saves by using our service, and not just economic potential, but also the environmental benefits that come along with it, is huge. And on the other hand, operating a service like this is a very challenging thing. We have moderation, we have tech, we have marketing, so there's a lot of things to pay for. So we obviously have to monetize. And in some countries, we have an online booking, meaning that you book, you pay online, the driver gets the money online after the ride, and we take a commission after that. This exists in France, in England, in Spain, and the Netherlands. And in some countries like Romania, we have a free product where we don't take any kind of commission. With time, we will obviously have to monetize Romania as well. Whether it will be an online booking or something else, it's yet to be decided, depending on how we can really. The whole idea of what we do is we have to make this transaction as seamless as possible. to make it as easy for the haves and have-nots to meet, for the drivers and the passengers to match, and to manage this whole experience and the transaction that comes with the experience. And our goal is to make this as easy as possible, to make ride-sharing available, or not available, but to make ride-sharing compelling to as many people as possible. And that's how we decide what way we monetize a country.
Okay. Now, from your point of view, how do you see yourself in the future after BlaBlaCar?
Well, I think
do you have any plan to step outside this game and, I don't know, become an investor?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess you can see I'm not very old, so I have many plans. At the same time, I have at the moment many plans in BlaBlaCar. As I said, I mean, for example, taking Romania from where we are today into a community of 3 to 5 million people, being ride-sharing one of the mainstream forms of transportation, and is a long way, right? It's not a trivial 1 or 2 month project. So I have a lot of things to do here. And if we think about the longer term potential of BlaBlaCar, it's also huge, right? So we're at 20 million users today. We're going into some very big markets right now. And we're building this huge community built on trust globally. And I think this is very, very interesting. I think I have a lot of things to learn here. It's a great school, I think, and I want to learn and contribute here. As I said, like, my previous workplace was also a very good learning experience. So I'm not saying I don't have ideas in mind, but I'm very happy with what I'm doing now, and I'm very happy to see this potential realized. Actually, I took an Uber here because we're not in the inner city, so I couldn't. I didn't even want to, because that's not our message. So if I could, that would be bad. So I took an Uber. But anyway, I spoke to the guy, and it turns out he's a BlaBlaCar user as well, because he's from Timișoara, Bucharest, sorry. And he has to go home sometimes, and he also goes to the seaside, and he's been using it as a driver and as a passenger. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. This was it.
Okay, I would be very happy to make this into a conversation.
That's why we're stopping here.
And learn from you guys.
Take some questions, yeah. Please.
I have a question. How did you get the first customers really into the system, and more importantly, the first drivers? Because obviously, without the drivers in the system, when somebody opens up the app and there are no drivers, then they will close it and not open it again. So probably you must have had really a solid base of drivers or an offer, so that people were willing to use it. Was it through some marketing campaign at the start, or how did you achieve that?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and with time we got better at this. So in Hungary, ride-sharing was a little better known than in Romania. So there were some online platforms which had some traffic, and the word ride-sharing in Hungarian was better known. So at the beginning we did some very basic Google search advertising and some very basic Facebook advertising. And then what we realized is that, which was, I think, very interesting. I mean, we were trying to find the groups of kind of the early adopters who were willing to come to our platform, even though what we were offering at the time was not like super compelling, right? We didn't have like hundreds of thousands of euros just to spend on marketing and get many drivers onto the platform, so we can show that we have utility here. So at the very beginning, we identified the Hungarians working abroad as a good audience, because they are the people who travel for long distances and they travel often, and for this reason it's a big part of their consumer basket. And these people they were present in all kinds of Facebook groups organizing their lives abroad. And we targeted these Facebook groups with our messages. And this was like one of those ways that we could find people easily. But finding the drivers at the time when we launch a new country is the biggest challenge for BlaBlaCar, and any good ideas are welcome. Because if you're a driver, you're in your usual workflow. You have your routine, right? You know where you're going. You sit in your car. Maybe you switch on the navigation, but by the time you switch on the navigation, you're on your way. You're gonna buy petrol on your way, but that's really it, right? Versus if you're a passenger, then you always have to search for a way to go, right? And when you search, then it's a chance for us to say, hi, why don't you check out these guys on BlaBlaCar? But to find the drivers, it's more tricky. So any ideas are welcome.
What about complaints coming from drivers or from the other users? How much did it count in your business, and how did you manage this relationship with the users at this point?
Yeah, so the good thing is that there are very few complaints, right? So you would think that no, it's true. When people, when you agree with another person that you're going to meet, the most frequent problem is the no-shows, right? Because, okay, I won't go, and then I don't have to face the problem that I didn't go. But when somebody shows up and you decide to sit in someone's car, then, you respect the opportunity that you can go with him. If you sit next to someone, you want to smile, you want to feel good about this experience, you want the other person to feel good about you. So we don't really have any kind of complaints regarding traveling together. We do, however, have a member relations team who what's very important for us is to provide reliable and trusted information, right? And to do this, we do some moderation of the profiles to make sure that whatever gets onto our website is at least presented in the way that it should be. And then after that, the ratings take care of ensuring quality and reliability.
I'd like to ask you about the BlaBlaCar. Have you ever thought about making it available also for shorter distances, like urban hitchhiking? You said that the average distance right now in Romania is about 300 kilometers. But how about the small cities, for example, or the cities like Bucharest? If someone would like to take a car, for example, 10 kilometers away.
Yeah. So that's, I always wonder as well when I go, either I'm standing in a bus stop or I go buy a car next to a bus stop, that probably some of the people are going to the same place. So it's a very valid question. What we see, so we focus on long distance because that's where we can give more value to our users. And we focus on long distance because we still see huge potential in growing long distance, and short distance is an idea that we always play with, and hopefully someday we will be able to unlock that as well. Yeah.
This would mean you would go in a fight with Uber and all the problems they have in all the countries in Europe.
No. What we do is very, very different from Uber, right? So we are based on a real cost-sharing principle. We have a certain price per kilometer that we suggest, and then we have a maximum price per kilometer. And one of the things our member relations team does is that it monitors the activity of people and identifies those people who somehow attempt to circumvent the system, and they mute those people. So we're very different from Uber. We're not on demand, we're not for profit, and at the moment we're long distance.
How did you manage going from one country to another, expanding the legal alignment? Did you have consultancy firms or something like that?
Well, one of the things when you are small is that you don't have to care about these things. So at the beginning we just did it. And then, I mean, it's quite easy because especially Romania is part of the EU, so the regulation, there's no big difference. Obviously you have to comply with local data protection and other aspects. So at a certain stage we engaged a local lawyer to help us make sure that we comply. But I guess this is one of those things, so at the beginning better to kind of try first and then worry about these things.
No?
I was actually interested on the initial amount of money that you needed to start when you started with your brother and the technical co-founder, and also how much did you fundraise afterwards?
Mm-hmm. So we started with a relatively small amount of money, a couple of €1,000, more than 10,000, but not a lot. We didn't take any salary. We were on this for like 1 year, and then we realized we need to fundraise. And then when we fundraised, we realized that I think investors really look at the people they invest in, because when you're a small startup, the product that you have or don't have, or the users that you have or don't have in themselves are not really valuable. So they are interested in the potential. They are interested in your potential to realize, to execute this, and they are interested in like the macro business potential. So like if you do everything well, how big can this grow? And I think we had to demonstrate that we are able to do this. We have to provide a plan that justifies that we are able to do this, and we have to show the milestones that got us there, and the milestones during the process, which is very tricky, right? So when you start the discussion, there's still several months left until you actually close an investment, and in this process you have to be convincing all the way through. So I think these are the two most important things.
That was it. Thank you for coming to Startup Brain Bucharest.
I have to tell you guys one more thing.
Yes.
That we are building a team in Romania. At the moment, we're mostly managing the Romanian operation from Budapest. But we're a very local company with 12 offices around the world, because ride-sharing is a very local service answering local needs. And our local teams have three main pillars. One is growth, ensuring that we reach all the drivers and passengers, the drivers first, to be able to provide the utility to our users. So we have this growth, which is responsible for online and offline efforts of acquiring drivers and passengers. We have communications, who is responsible for interacting with the existing community and also educating the public at large. And we have community and events pillar, which is the third pillar, which is responsible for really creating a real relationship with our users. We want to be close to our users to understand their needs, to know, what messages work, what don't work, what works well in the product, what doesn't work well, and also to help tell the story to people who did not try it before. And so these are the three main pillars we have: growth, communications, and community and events. And please advise people you know who may be interested to check out the jobs page on BlaBlaCar, because we're very, very eager to build a strong local team, especially people who care about sharing and ride sharing.
So you're hiring in Romania.
That's correct.
Anyone interested, jump in. Okay, thank you for coming. That was it. I will switch to Romania.
Thank you very much.